Your Excellency, we have seen in Spain the situation hasn't been very good. My first question to you is, how is the Indian mission reaching out to so many Indians who have been stranded in Spain? It has been tough time for many of the people who have been in Spain, whether it's the locals or whether it is the Indians and, of course, the diplomats as well.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Let me extend my greetings to your viewers from Madrid. The Indian diaspora in Spain is about 80,000, which includes 50,000 Indian passport holders and 30,000 naturalized Spaniards. Our biggest challenge was, I think, maintaining communication links during the crisis because we ourselves were isolated and locked down. Apart from that, the second channel was reaching out services by way of provisions, food, medicines, PPE to the community. And third, probably the most important, was keeping up the morale and keeping up the spirits of our community. And we've done it through a variety of ways. We've been accessible. We've had 7 hotlines operating 24/7. We have email accounts. We have officers personally calling hundreds and thousands of Indian nationals. We have reached them medicines, food through community help, through gurdwaras, through temples. Because while we are in Madrid, we have had to depend extensively on our community leaders in Barcelona, in Valencia, in Malaga. And in a way, we're happy to report that we've been able to meet all 3 of our objectives. And you'll realize that despite Spain being one of the worst affected, and despite that, the number of desperate cries from the diaspora in Spain have actually been muted and subdued because they've shown a very supportive attitude to what's happening in India as well. And rather than to add to the problems in India, the community has by and large chosen to stay put in Madrid to the extent they can.
Any cases, sir, of any Indians infected with the virus?
Well, there have been, I would say, not too many. I would say probably 3 or 4 cases. Fortunately for us, there hasn't been a casualty. And as far as we know, all 4 have actually recovered. So in that sense, the community is safe and sound.
So my next question to you is about the ground situation in Spain, because Spain has been one of the worst impacted countries in the entire region in Europe. So what has been the situation, and has there been a considerable recovery now? Because we are getting reports as well of considerable recovery in the country.
Well, you're right. Spain continues to be the 3rd most affected nation in the world with about 24,000 deaths as of today. Today is day 45 of the lockdown. And to put it in perspective, on April 2nd in Spain, the death count on one day alone was 961. And in India, we reached 900 odd only yesterday. So what India suffered over a period of 4 to 6 weeks is what Spain endured on just one day. So that, that brings in sharp contrast the suffering of Spain. Having said that, I think the worst appears to be behind. The government yesterday announced a phased exit strategy starting this weekend. And by the end of June, in a best case scenario, they would have opened up the entire country, beginning by allowing smaller establishments to open, restaurants to work at 30% capacity, schools only till the age of 6 to open so that the parents can go to work while the kids are in school, religious places with 30% occupancy, but all in a phased manner, all asymmetrical in the sense that regions would work differently from the center on this, but all on the same page. So in that sense, with this exit strategy, Spain is announcing to the world that it has grown in confidence in its ability to tackle this. The worst may be behind, and livelihoods is as important as saving lives. And we hope that Spain, reaches business as the usual scenario sooner than later.
So how is India and Spain cooperating when it comes to the COVID pandemic? We know that India has is in the process of sending HCQ to Spain. So if you can talk about that cooperation as well.
Well, what we have done is We've had a dialogue between our two countries at the highest levels. Our prime ministers have had a conversation. Our foreign ministers have spoken a couple of times. And again, even in the context of G20, where Spain is an invitee, there has been a positive dialogue on the way forward. On more practical terms, you were right in mentioning that India has reached out to Spain by offering hydroxychloroquine, and paracetamol, etc. And we've also aided the evacuation of Spaniards who were stranded in India, about almost 300 of them. So, in that sense, we have also exchanged information on how we are respectively tackling the crisis, and so the learnings can be shared.
Mhm. When it comes to the containment model, we know our missions have been talking about containment models with respective governments. So, have you also shared about the Indian containment models or the Indian best practices, and have you also heard them as well what they were doing all throughout these months, which have been the worst for them?
Well, this is a work in progress. I think all countries are open to ideas and suggestions. We ourselves, the mission has shared with the Spanish government the way the government of India has approached it. While the problem is common, the approaches are different, surely because of the differing political circumstances and the economic ones as well. So, in that sense, largely we are tracking each other's practices, but on specifics, since there is so much of dissonance in terms of what treatment or the vaccine developments, etc. I won't be able to pinpoint any concrete area of cooperation, but yes, largely in this in this scenario, we are aware of each other's broader practices. For example, the exit strategy adopted to ease the lockdown is something we will be watching very closely. I mean, both countries.
Mhm. So my final question to you is: it has been tough for the diplomats as well. The Indian diplomats. We have been speaking to diplomats in China, in Iran, in Japan, to almost like 10 countries we have spoken to. So what has been the condition in terms of diplomacy and for diplomats, the Indian diplomats as well? The problems perhaps you might have faced. I saw ma'am also covering her face. So if you can talk us all through this time, what has been the situation for you personally?
Well, we in times of crisis, Indian diplomacy puts its best foot forward, and the same is the case now. I'm very proud to say that the embassy and its young officers have worked tirelessly. They've defied, the concerns about their own health, have reached out to the community, have been available 24/7, have personally picked up the phone, and these are young diplomats who have themselves individually call hundreds of community members, offered counseling, and these are difficult times, from marital discord to depression to rushing medicines, to just offering a word of comfort is what officers have personally done, a hands-on approach. And whenever required, despite these curfew-like situations, we have come to the embassy and we are doing so regularly now. And I do not think that we've been found wanting in any particular respect during this crisis. And I'm very proud of the Indian Foreign Service and the young diplomats who have outdone themselves like everywhere else, even in Spain.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION and sharing your thoughts. Our messages from here, from Delhi to Spain, is that stay safe, sir.
Thank you to you as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.